Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele, and welcome to the weekly roundup. And what a week was, huh? We had a lot of big stories. Some that happened today, some that are happened last week, but are still, following up on, and a story that just came out today about the real story about something that happened, and that was in the thumbnail. So before we get started, though, little housekeeping I have. So what we're going to do here on the channel, I've decided is I've had a Patreon for about a year. I never really got into it. So I had a couple of shows that I was doing for the podcast. You may see a couple of them on the channel. Um, um, you may see a couple on the channel. Um, Flashback Fridays, rewatch Wednesdays, and um, Mob Mondays. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my Patreon back up, and it's going to be $4 for access to one video. Okay, probably rewatch Mondays, and then $7 for two videos. Okay, so that will be like Flashback Fridays and rewatch Wednesdays, or Mob Mondays and rewatch Wednesdays, and $15 a month. That's it. That's all I'm going to be asking from you guys. $15 a month, and that is going to get you access to every single video there. That is going to get you Mob Mondays. That is going to get you rewatch Wednesdays, and that's going to get you Flashback Fridays. And so quickly before we get into it, the rewatch Wednesday or the Flashback Fridays, what I was doing is I was doing every single Marvel movie in chronological order. I was doing only the audio. I'm going to do the video. So you guys are going to be getting a video, like once a month. Okay, probably once a month, because I'm going to be doing the other ones too, the rewatch Wednesday and the Mob Mondays. So you guys are going to be getting one of those a month, and yeah, so that would be fantastic. I'll put more information down in the description. So, anyways, on to today's topics. We had a huge week. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So, as everybody knows, okay, there was a movie that came out last week, okay, and that was Shazam 2. And there was a big to-do about Shazam 2 because why it failed, okay? And this comes from Variety. So let me backtrack and say this. There had been a couple of going back and forth between The Rock and Zachary Levi. And so at that point, it was, The Rock had made a point on the red carpet about something, and then, Levi came back. So this is the new article right out of Variety today. And it reads, Zachary Levi says Shazam 2's credit scene was thwarted. Quote, his third word, thwarted. And quote, it's a shame if all comic book movies have to be this serious, intense, and dark. Almost a week after Shazam Fury of the Gods opened and bombed at the box office, Zachary Levi took to Instagram to weigh in on a whole lot of drama surrounding the DC comic book tentpole. In a video, the actor confirmed that the plans for Fury of the Gods post-credit scene, in which Shazam is recruited to join the Justice Society, were, quote, thwarted, end quote, although he didn't say by whom. We can kind of infer because of everything that's been going on. A report from the Wrap published after Fury of the Gods opening weekend claimed that Dwayne Johnson sabotaged the Shazam post-credit scene by blocking Black Adam characters Cyclone and Hawkeye from appearing in it. Johnson headlined Black Adam and aimed to start a new thread of DC Universe built around his character facing off against Henry Cavill's Superman. We all saw what happened there. Black Adam was also underperformed at the box office, and both Johnson and Cavill are not included in the new DC Universe, spearheaded by DC studio bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran. The Fury of the Gods post-credit scene finds Shazam after being recruited to the Justice Society, a group of heroes including Johnson's Black Adam, included Black Adam. In the film, Amelia Harcourt and John, we'll just call him John, from Gunn's Suicide Squad and Peacemaker were recruited to appear to recruit Shazam, not Hawkeye and I want to call him Hawkeye, Hawkman, excuse me, and Cyclone. Levi originally made headlines for sharing the rap's post on his Instagram with the caption, "The truth will set you free." And while he did not name Dwayne Johnson on his new Instagram video, he did confirm that Cyclone and Hawkman were blocked from appearing in the post-credit scene. I may or may have not, reposted something in my stories about a story that I had nothing to do with that the Wrap reported on. And then I got flack for it because people were saying, "What are you doing? You're trying to blame this guy for your movie not doing well." Listen, I haven't blamed anybody. There's not one single person I blame for anything about the way that our movies performed. So it goes on to actually give exactly what the movie did. But he goes on to say, people were slagging at James Gunn because Jennifer Holland, his wife, who's an actor and is in Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, we used Jennifer and Steve in that scene in Shazam, Levi continued. That was not the original intent. The original intent was to have Hawkeye and Cyclone be there, inviting me to the Justice League. Walter Hamada and Peter Safran and David Sandberg. We had an awesome scene set and restored. I'm merely coming to the defense of the truth. Truth is good. We should all live in it. And he goes on to say, if you don't want to watch a movie with humor in it because you're more into straight up hard action, I get it. I'm not trying to force anyone to do anything they don't want to. But let me remind you where the comics and Captain Marvel and Shazam started. These were comics geared toward younger people and the fun and the silliness and the goofiness. It's a real shame if comic book movies have gotten to a place where they have to be nothing but serious and nothing but intense and nothing but dark. That's a sad day. I don't know what else to say about it. Okay, so let's dive into this. The fact is that this is a mess. This is a mess for DC. And he is blaming, and rightfully so, he's blaming The Rock for it. The Rock thought he could, this was a power play. This was a complete and total power play. And it was one of those things that give me just a moment, guys. So this essentially was a power play, okay, and he failed. Dwayne Johnson failed, and you haven't heard anything since, and that is the problem, okay? That Dwayne Johnson thought he was bigger than all this, and he was thwarted. I mean, if you want to use Zachary Levi's comment, okay, bad move on the Rock's part. But here's my thing, okay? Here's where I come down. At least if you try something and you fail, at least come out and admit it. Like, nobody's going to fault you. Nobody's going to fault you for saying, hey, look, I tried something and I failed miserably, okay? This isn't wrestling where you get to get over on somebody and, have that happen. This is basically, I tried to muscle my way into this and it didn't work. So as a result, okay, he's not going to get another movie, Black Adam, and Shazam isn't going to get another movie. Okay, they're both going to move on. Even David Sandberg came out on Twitter earlier this week and said, I'm done with this. This was a great 6-year run I had, but I'm done with this. And I think the problem is that when you have people that try to muscle, literally and figuratively, muscle their way into the position, it never works. And so if they had just cooperated, I should say they, if the Rock team had just cooperated and actually done this, it would have worked. And they could have made a third Shazam movie. And that it would have been exciting for everybody. So I don't know. I just think it was a bad move all the way around. And I think, and the thing is, The Rock is not going to, he doesn't regret it at all. It'll be very interesting to see where he goes and what he does next. And, he just bought the XFL, and that's great. And so, but I fear that the Shazam franchise is dead. It is absolutely dead. And it's a shame because they're good movies. And they're fun movies. They're kid-friendly movies. And they don't all have to be dark. I mean, but when you have people that are not team players, it hurts everybody. That's all I'll say. It just hurts everybody. And I think this is a teaching moment for everybody. I think that if you work together, you can go places. Anyways, that's my piece on that. So it's one of those things where I wish The Rock well, but he got thwarted. in the words of Zachary Levi, he got thwarted. What do you guys think? Do you think The Rock was right in not appearing in Shazam's post-credit scene? Do you think Zachary Levi was right for coming out and saying something about that? Or do you think they should have both kept their mouths shut and moved on? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you have to say. Okay, so let's move on to the second story of the day. Our second story of the day is about a movie that's going to be coming out. Well, it actually had their previews last night. It was very big, and it's going to do huge numbers. And that is John Wick 4. So John Wick 4 ended up making almost $9 million last night in previews. So according to Variety, okay, John Wick is back for the fourth time and headed toward a franchise record opening with John Wick Chapter 4, the latest installment in the gunslinging, knife-throwing action franchise. Lionsgate's fourth entry opened with $8.9 million in preview with the domestic box office. John Wick Chapter 4 is on pace to surpass the third movie's record opening setting with an expected bow of $65 to $70 million. Impressively, each of the films has substantially increased over the opening weekend release after release. The original John Wick opened $14 million 2014, followed by 2017's John Wick Chapter 2 with $30 million. 2019 John Wick's Chapter 3 Parabellum with $56.8 million. And the Thursday preview hauled in has a similar growth over the years. John Wick had $950,000 in domestic previews. John Wick 2 had 2.2, and John Wick Part 3 had 5.9. The fourth installment boasts the largest price tag yet, costing more than $100 million to produce, but it should finish in the top total of the series. John Wick 3 ended its run with $328 million globally, followed by John Wick 2 with $174.3 million. The original only making $86.1. As the major release for this weekend, John Wick 4 should have no trouble beating last week's champion Shazam: Fury of the Gods. In its latest movie, Keanu Reeves' master assassin returns to take down the evil high-table crime syndicate for good, and he must face the Marquis Vincent de Groot, played by Bill Skarsgård, to win his freedom. Along the way, Wick has to fight the blind swordsman Kane, played by Donnie Yen, and a mysterious tracker, Mr. Nobody, who shares Wick's love for dogs. And it goes on to say, and they were talking about the late Lance Reddick. Lawrence Fishburne, so Lance is a people person, a special artist, gentleman of grace and dignity, we've said, at the Los Angeles premiere. It's just really something special. Every time he stepped on set to watch the passion he had for its work, it's really easy to work through. I had Lance in my life for almost 10 years, the director said. Although he was done over the course of 4 films, we worked together on many other things. I just got to be happy and proud of the fact that I got to spend so much time with him, and we're going to miss him. And we are going to miss him. He was truly a great person to see. Um, that being said, this is going to do big numbers. This is going to do huge numbers. And I really think that, you know, it's going to crush everything at the box office. And the sky's the limit for this. And I think that when you look at a franchise like this to keep growing and growing and growing, it's remarkable. And I heard I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any of the John Wick movies, truth be told. I hear that this one has a very surprise ending. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that. That being said, it's going to crush the box office. It's going to do huge numbers. And I can't wait. And we got, another couple weeks. We got another couple movies coming out. And so this is going to probably win this weekend, definitely win this weekend, and probably next weekend too. So before Air and Super Mario hits for Easter. So that's going to be fun to see. I hear John Wick is one of those great franchises that just revitalized Keanu's career. So what do you guys think? Are you going to go see John Wick 4 this weekend? Which one of the John Wicks is your favorite? Tell me what you like about the franchise. Get me interested in it. I haven't seen any of them. Get me interested in them. Okay, leave your thoughts and your comments down below. Okay, so let's move on to another story. And this one is interesting because this is the first time we've heard any movement on this. And so, okay, I'm really curious to see what happens with this story. Adam McKay is one of those artists, is one of those directors that his work one way or the other, right? Whether it's from Don't Look Up, which was nominated for Best Picture, Anchorman, of course, everybody's favorite, Vice, okay, or any one of these other films that is pictured here. It's one of those things where he's got The Big Short, one of my favorites, personal favorites. He has a very dark sense of humor, and he likes making comedies. I mean, Don't Look Up was a perfect example of that, right? So, according to the Hollywood Reporter, there is going to be a new project, okay, by Adam McKay, with Adam McKay directing, and we are going to have this is going to be a huge select number of stars, okay? You're going to have, and pictured here, this is the cast. You're going to have Robert Pattinson, Amy Adams, Robert Downey Jr., who, by the way, is getting a lot of work. So anybody who watched the show yesterday, okay, knows that I just did a piece. They are remaking Vertigo. Yes, I'm talking about the Alfred Hitchcock Vertigo, okay? Academy Award winner Forrest Whitaker and Daniel Detweiler from Till. So, and it is called Average Build, Average Height. So, after months of murmuring, the A-list ensemble project from The Big Short and Don't Look Up filmmaker Adam McKay has hit Hollywood. Titled Average Height, Average Build, the project is being described as a part serial killer thriller, part comedy, following a killer who uses political lobbyists to change laws in order to make it easier for him to kill, according to sources. Like all of McKay's recent work, the project will tackle larger social political ills, a la the 2008 crisis with The Big Short and the climate crisis in Don't Look Up, this time taking on crime and corruption. McKay wrote the script and would direct the feature that hits the inbox of studios' heads this week. Actors already attached to the project, as I said, pictured, are Amy Adams, Robert Pattinson, Robert Downey Jr., Forrest Whitaker, and Daniel Detweiler. The script calls for many more characters to be filled in. The project has been with McKay for some time, with the filmmaker talking about working on a new script that would tackle, quote, big dirty money, end quote, during a Q&A at the 2022 Tribeca Film Festival. At the time, he described the project as a comedy. But despite the high wattage cast and McKay's enviable track record, the project is facing some headwinds in studios, with several already passed on it, while others are taking the time to crunch the numbers. Should it go to a streamer, the starry cast would require significant upfront buyout costs, which is why some has been reluctant to jump in. Insiders at other studios are noting that this is a particular challenge to release a dark political comedy in today's theatrical landscape. McKay has also noted this to studios that the project would appeal to both sides of the political spectrum, but not everyone feels that way. Apple, where McKay has a first look deal, has not jumped on the project. The fact that a package that the Oscar-winning behind-the-camera team, a filmmaker whose last movie got a Best Picture nomination, is populated on screen by award circuit regulars and superheroes alike, cannot stand immediately find a home, does not scream, quote, hot package, end quote, and is emblematic of the current state of Hollywood. There is a high degree of risk aversion, financial, thematic, or otherwise, with even the streamers willing to throw around the big money that they brandished 2 years ago to attract A-list talent. McKay is planning on a late summer shoot in Boston. The film does not yet have a studio on board to finance or distribute. The writer-director has already lined up key below-the-line talent, including cinematographer Todd Benzo, who worked on McKay's HBO-winning series Winning Talent. McKay's Don't Look Up starred. So it goes in to talk about Don't Look Up. The actors so far are newcomers to the McKay School of Big Issue Comedy, save for Adams. She and McKay previously worked on McKay's Dick Cheney's movie Vice. Patterson last started. So basically, it was giving the project of all the last, all the stars you see. Here's the thing, okay? A couple of things I have to say. Number one, the cast is huge, okay? The cast is huge, and I trust Adam McKay. I like Vice. I love Vice, okay? I also loved The Big Short. Don't Look Up was okay. Not the greatest thing in the world, but it was okay. That being said, I think that when you have a director that likes doing dark comedies, and this is definitely a dark comedy, okay, you got to wonder if A, anybody picks this up, and B, if they do, who actually would. Especially with streamers. So Apple anybody who's familiar with the piece yesterday, okay, Apple and Amazon are going to be spending $1 billion each on feature films next year. $1 billion. So it's going to be very interesting to see how how it translates. That being said, I think that Don't Look Up people forget Don't Look Up got a Best Picture nomination. Now, while it didn't win, okay, it definitely got a Best Picture nomination. I liked it. It wasn't his greatest, but I liked it. I think that it depends on a couple of things. Number one, okay, I think it depends on we already know the plot of the movie. It depends on the schedule when it comes out, okay? And it depends on how much the stars are asking for. Because Robert Downey Jr., let's face it, he's done 2 films in the last 3 years. His last film was it was Doolittle, but it was a disaster, okay? The other thing, too, is it's one of those things where he's going to want a lot of money. Okay, Amy Adams is a 7 or 8-time Academy Award nominee. She's going to want a lot of money. You know, Daniel Detweiler was just in in that movie Till. Okay, she should have been nominated for Academy Award. She wasn't. Yeah. All of that being said, it's going to be interesting to see who picks. It will probably be a streamer. I wouldn't be shocked if Netflix swoops in. I wouldn't be shocked, because if Apple hasn't done it yet and Amazon hasn't done it yet, okay, the only other big power player is Netflix. So, and if they're going to throw around money like that, and they're going to have stars like that on there, don't be shocked for Netflix to come in. It's an interesting concept. I got to be honest with you. It's an interesting concept. That being said, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Adam McKay's record? Which films of Adam McKay's did you like? Do you like Anchorman? Do you like Vice? The Big Short? Let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing this kind of movie. Okay, so let's go to the final story of the day. And this one is the big one. This one is the big one for the Roundup. So on Monday, everybody heard about a huge story that hit, just rocked Hollywood, if you will. And that was Victoria Alonzo getting fired, or so we thought, from Marvel. Now, anybody who's not familiar with Victoria Alonzo, she had been the post-production producer behind several of the films. So the THR just came out with a very interesting, I'll call it interesting, report and story about Alonzo and what it was. So this is what it says. Inside the firing of Victoria Alonzo, her Oscar-winning nominated movie Argentina 1985, the seventh of her exit. The Oscar-nominated drama Argentina 1985, which was actually nominated this year, okay, was at the center of last week's sudden firing of longtime Marvel executive Victoria Alonzo, the THR learned. Alonzo, who had been one of the 8 producers of the international production that was being distributed by Amazon. However, by doing so, she breached her contract several times, according to sources. After repeated warnings, the situation came to a head this week after the Oscars and ultimately led to her termination. It was a seismic shakeup at Marvel, where for years, Alonzo was part of the Holy Trinity along with Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige, co-president Luis D'Esposito, who led the Marvel MCU, who led the Marvel Cinematic to even greater heights. According to insiders, Alonzo breached a 2018 agreement that saw her violate the company's standard of business conduct that stated employees would not work for competing studios. So there's a lot to digest here, so I'm going to read it first, and then I want to go back and actually talk about it. Sources say that Alonzo did not ask permission to work on Argentina in 1985, nor did she give notice, but the film did of her volatility. However, an IndieWire piece published last month on the film stated that she did have permission. When Disney found out about the project and the violation, her longtime service and her veteran status engendered the company to give her disposition on the condition she would not work for any other movie. She would not work on the movie further. She was also told not to promote it or publicize it in any way. The situation of a top executive working on a movie outside of the company confines was deemed serious enough to involve the management audit team, and a new memo was signed, according to an insider. A rep for Alonzo and Disney both failed to comment. The film premiered in September 2022 Venice International Film Festival, and soon the drama was on the awards track. Alonzo then found herself in front and center in the circuit of the screenings, doing Q&As, panels, and interviews. According to sources, she was reminded of her agreement of her agreement and agreed several times, but the appearances continued. She even appeared on the Oscars red carpet, not as a Marvel executive associated with the studio's multi-nominated Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but rather a producer walking with the film's director. What also wrangled Disney executives was that while she worked on the promotion of her movie, her purview of Marvel's visual effects as president of physical and post-production, visual effects and animation was busier than ever. Okay. Throughout the year or so, Marvel would put out an unprecedented level number of series and movies. A general impression emerged that the visual effects artists were not treated well, attributing factors to long hours, razor-sharp deadlines, and a lack of a singular vision. Movies, including the February release Ant-Man and the Wasp, have come under fire from the subpar visual effects work, while Alonzo's reputation became more and more polarizing. You can ask a person to stay working till 1 a.m. working on visual effects for so long before things start to break, said one post-production source. Another post talent said they avoided working with Marvel so they didn't have because of Alonzo's reputation being so challenging. So Selma I had actually given her support to her in 2021 in a post. So for the Buenos Aires-born Alonzo, Argentina in 1985 was a personal tale. The feature stars Ricardo Duns as Julio, excuse me if I mispronounce this, Julio Cesar Stratasa, the prosecutor who led the case behind those behind Argentina's reign of the military terror that led to the disappearance of 30,000 people. I've made a lot of stories about superheroes. Alonzo told IndieWire in a story published last month, and I've always wanted to tell a story about what happened in Argentina because I should have been one of those 30,000 people. Alonzo's firing was sudden and shocked the town because of the hushed nature. Some have speculated that Alonzo was being silenced because she was outspoken against Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. As long as I'm in Marvel Studios, I will fight for representation. Alonzo, who was gay, said at the time. Disney took a stand against the bill, resulting in a clash with state government and ultimately the loss of special tax status. It is a move that will likely cost the company millions. But others say that being vocal has only increased Alonzo's profile within the company. She was on the board, or she was asked to represent the company on the board of GLAAD and Pride 365's leadership team, and made a deal with the company's publishing division to write a memoir. In any case, the visual effects industry will be closely watching what happens next. Marvel is one of the largest visual effects clients because of the scope of its work. Its tentpoles have usually 2,000 to 3,000 shots per movie. Think about that, guys, per movie about this. It is unclear who will take over for Alonzo in the interim. At least now, vendors will be working under the producer Jane Underhall for now. Insiders acknowledge whoever assumes the position will face similar challenges to Alonzo, who's helped out the unprecedented 18 films, television specials, and movies that have come out 2021, 2022. Said one visual effects pro, whatever criticism being levied against her, she's not part of the problem. It's the aggressive release schedule. Okay. There's a lot to digest. And guys, I'm sorry I wanted to read that whole thing because I wanted to make it clear about exactly what everything was. Okay. So let's start back at the beginning. Okay. And so basically what they're saying is that, well, let's go back and start at the beginning. She was fired for breach of contract. That's essentially what it comes down to. She was fired for breach of contract. And she had been told several times over, you cannot be a producer on this. You cannot have any association with this film. And that's it. And subsequently, she said, not so much. And so she was told repeatedly from Disney over and over and over again. And I think it came to a head, according to the sources, when she showed up on the red carpet, not for Disney, but for the director of the film. Um, Look, here's where I stand on this. Okay. The fact is that a couple of things. Number one, obviously she wasn't happy. Okay. She just wasn't happy because she wanted to go do this and they said no. Okay. Now, that being said, I think you have to ask yourself, why would she jeopardize her job to do that? Okay. And I understand it was personal, I understand it was a passion project, but she had to know. Okay. She's a very bright woman. I have no doubt. I've never met her, but she's a very bright woman. Okay. Um, what I would do, okay, and I compare it to this. These are all of the films that have either come out, okay, or will be coming out in the next couple of years. So we've had Thor: Love and Thunder, okay. We've had Multiverse of Madness. We've had, let's go back. So we've had Eternals. We've had Shang-Chi, okay. We've had Thor: Love and Thunder, and this is really where the effects people said that were pretty shoddy. Okay. Multiverse of Madness, Wakanda Forever, and Quantumania. Okay. Now we have Guardians coming out in about 6 weeks. Okay. And we'll have the Marvels in March. I'm sorry, not March, in November. Here's the thing. This is too much stuff. Okay. I've always said that first of all, feature films are the bread and butter. It's not the Disney Plus stuff. Disney Plus stuff is gravy, in my opinion. The way I compare this is that it's like a student who says, "Oh, I'll take care of," they've got a test coming up. They said, "Oh, I'll take care of it," and then they're focused. Everything they put all their focus, the majority of their focus, on something else. And what ends up happening is, when that test comes around, they try to cram for it. Okay. And the results speak for themselves. They fail. That being said, when they fail, okay, the end result is poor special effects. The other backlash, too, is you're having all of these visual effects artists, and it's not just one. It's one after the other after the other. It's systemic. They're like, I don't want to work for Marvel because I don't want to deal with the baloney. Okay? So, that being said, they'll take a job that maybe won't pay them as much. Now, that all being said, it just blows my mind that somebody would throw away a 17-year career that helped build one of the biggest studios in the world to do a passion project. And I look, I just think it was a bad move on her part. She knew what was going to happen, and she did it anyways. She was told, "Don't do this." Okay. I don't feel sorry for her. I'll be honest. I don't feel sorry for her at all. She is going to make a lot of money doing whatever she wants to do. Okay. What I'll say is this. A, I hope she learned her lesson. Okay. And B, you're not going to see her in any Hollywood environment for at least 6 to 8 months. Okay. I wouldn't be shocked if it was the end of the summer. Because all these studios have all of these pictures coming out, whether it's Paramount or Lionsgate or, whatever it is, Warner Brothers. They have all these things coming out. They are not going to want to bring somebody else on. When the award season starts, that's when you might see something happen. I've said it. She's worked with James Gunn a couple times. Don't be shocked. Do not be shocked, okay, if she goes over to work for Warner Brothers. Because Warner Brothers with James Gunn and Peter Safran is starting a brand new thing. And she helped build this from the ground up. And she has the resume to do it. Okay. I think she could very well go over to Warner Brothers and help James Gunn out, and it would be a problem. Now, there's another question to be had here. Will she pull this again? And I think the answer is no. I think she wanted out of Marvel so badly that she actually she did that. It was basically a middle finger to Marvel. That's what it was. And I'm sure she had been thinking about this for a long, long time. You don't just pull a stunt like this one day, wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to go get myself fired from Marvel. You don't do that. This is something that happens over the course of several months. And by the way, like I said, even in the piece, she was warned. So they had enough. So I don't feel sorry for her. She'll be fine. And I think that it's going to be very, very fascinating to see where she turns up next. Anyways, guys, whole bunch of questions to ask you guys. Number one, do you think she did the right thing? Because I know there are some people out there that are saying, but David, she was working on her passion project. True. Did she do the right thing? Okay, that's number one. Number two, when do you think we'll see her again? Do you think she's going to go get another job immediately? Or do you think she's going to wait until, let's say, after the summer? Number three, do you think there's ever a chance that she might go over to Warner Brothers and work for James Gunn and help get that whole DC thing up and running? Okay. And finally, if not, where do you think she'll land? Or do you think she starts her own production company or visual effects company? Leave me your thoughts with all those questions down in the comment section, and I'll get back to everybody. Okay, so that's it for the roundup today. Yeah, it was a big week. It was a big week, and we've got a big couple of movies coming out. Well, we've got one coming out that's going to be huge this weekend, which is John Wick 4. Can't believe they're making a fourth movie, but it's obviously making money. And then in a couple weeks, we have, well, the week after that, the end of the month, we have Tetris, which I'm really looking forward to. That's on Apple TV. Then for Easter, we have Super Mario and we have Air. I'll be covering both of those. Okay, I'll be going to the theater, seeing both those, doing the spoiler cast for those. So probably the 5th or the 6th, there's going to be no show. I'm just going to let you know now. I'll go do a double feature. And then I'll come back and I'll do both. Probably the next day we'll do a spoiler cast for both of them. And yeah, so that's it. I will put a post down in the bottom, or I'll put a post out asking you about the Patreon, what you'd be like to see, if you think those are appropriate prices. Maybe put it on Twitter. And by the way, that's the Twitter handle. You can follow me there. I'm always talking about movies on there. Okay, guys, that's about it. So do the 3 things you need to do. Be careful, be safe, and have a great weekend. And I will catch you on the flip side. My name is David Steele, and you have been watching Real Talks. Bye-bye.